The boardroom smelled of freshly brewed coffee and expensive cologne. Vincent Grayson, the young and ambitious CEO of Grayson Technologies, sat at the head of the long glass table. His sharp gray suit matched the color of his cold eyes as he shuffled through a stack of papers. Around him, the faint hum of whispered conversations rippled through the room, but Vincent said nothing. He placed his pen down and delivered the news with a tone as sharp as a blade. "Mr. Alden Royce," Vincent said, leaning back in his chair, "your services are no longer required." Effective immediately. The room fell silent. Alden Royce, a man who had given nearly 3 decades of his life to the company, stared at Vincent in disbelief. Alden was in his mid-50s, with salt and pepper hair and a demeanor that spoke of wisdom and experience. For years, he had been the one everyone turned to for guidance, solutions, and hope. And now, his years of dedication were being erased with one unfeeling sentence. "Excuse me?" Alden finally said, his voice steady but filled with quiet shock. "This company is evolving," Vincent replied, clipped and mechanical. "We need fresh ideas, younger energy." "It's nothing personal, just business." Alden's jaw clenched. He wasn't sure if anger, disappointment, or heartbreak hit him first. "Mr. Grayson, I've been here since before you even graduated college," Alden said, his voice heavy with emotion. "I helped build this company. Those sales records you boast about? Those were my team's blood and sweat. I've given everything to Grayson Technologies. Is this how you choose to repay loyalty?" Vincent's face remained emotionless. "Loyalty doesn't keep us competitive in today's market, Mr. Royce," he said flatly. "Your severance package is generous, and we'll arrange a farewell later if you'd like. But this decision has been made. It's final." A tense silence gripped the room. The younger executives around the table exchanged uneasy glances, but no one dared to speak. Alden exhaled loudly, closing his briefcase with hands that shook just a little. "Very well," Alden said, rising to his feet. He glanced around the room, his eyes full of sadness and disappointment. At one point, this team had felt like family. Now, all he saw were blank faces and downcast gazes. "I wish you all good luck. You'll need it." He looked directly at Vincent for one long moment, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them. Then, without another word, Alden turned and walked out of the boardroom, the sound of the door closing behind him louder than any thunderclap. For a moment, Vincent watched the door as if expecting Alden to return. But when he didn't, Vincent shook off the lingering discomfort. "Let's move on," he said, his voice cutting through the silence. But inside, Vincent couldn't shake an odd feeling, like a faint hum in the back of his mind, warning of something he couldn't yet comprehend. He brushed it aside, telling himself it was for the best. Alden was the past, and Vincent was determined to make Grayson Technologies the future. It wasn't long, however, before that decision would begin to unravel. Events were already set in motion, bringing Vincent to his knees and Alden Royce back into the spotlight. The days following Alden Royce's firing were meant to propel Grayson Technologies into a new era of growth and innovation. But instead of progress, cracks began to form in the foundation. At first, they were barely noticeable. A delayed project here, a missed deadline there. Vincent barely paid attention. After all, the change was supposed to shake things up. But soon, those cracks grew into visible faults. "Sir," Victoria Kane, the company's head of operations, said one morning as she stepped nervously into Vincent's office. She was one of the younger executives Vincent had fast-tracked for her aggressive spirit. "We have a problem." Vincent barely looked up from his laptop. "Every problem has a solution, Victoria." "What is it?" "We've lost 2 key clients this week, TechGen and Luminary Systems," she said, fidgeting slightly. Both cited service delays as their reason for leaving. This got Vincent's attention. His fingers hovered above his keyboard as he looked up sharply. "TechGen and Luminary? Those were Alden's accounts." Victoria swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." Without his processes in place, the transition would not have gone smoothly. "We've been unable to meet their expectations." Vincent leaned back in his chair, his brow furrowed. This is just a teething issue. Adjustments after leadership changes are normal. Reassign those accounts and let's move on. Victoria hesitated. It's not just the accounts, Mr. Grayson. Employees are uneasy. Most of them looked up to Mr. Royce. His absence has left a void. Team morale is low. Vincent waved his hand dismissively. Morale is irrelevant. They'll adjust as soon as they see results. Anything else? Victoria took a deep breath. There's one more thing. Word has gotten out about Mr. Royce's dismissal. Industry chatter says this company doesn't value loyalty. Vendors and partners are becoming cautious. They're watching us closely. Vincent frowned, feeling a flicker of unease. We'll manage the narrative. It's business. Everyone understands that. But as Victoria left, Vincent stared out of his window, unable to shake a strange tension building inside him. Alden's face flashed in his mind, tired but resolute as he walked out of the boardroom that day. He hated the pang of doubt that crept into his thoughts. 3 weeks later, everything began to collapse. Vincent's phone buzzed relentlessly on his desk in the middle of a meeting. 3 missed calls and emails marked urgent filled the screen. Then Victoria barged into the room, her face pale. This better be important, Vincent snapped, annoyed by the interruption. It's critical, Victoria said, trying to keep her voice steady. Our servers went down. Completely. They're trying to recover the systems, but some of our critical client data has been compromised. The words hit Vincent like a hammer. How is that possible? We haven't had issues with the servers in years. Victoria clenched her fists. Sir, the system's architecture, it's outdated. Alden designed and maintained it for decades. He kept it running smoothly. Since his departure, no one's been able to manage it properly. The new team you hired doesn't fully understand how it all works. Vincent's face hardened. So you're telling me this is because the new team isn't competent? No, sir. Victoria shot back, her voice rising slightly. I'm saying you removed the one person who knew this entire system inside and out. He didn't just work here, he was the backbone. And now everything's collapsing. The room fell silent. A dozen executives sitting around the table stared at Vincent uncomfortably, none daring to comment. The rest of the day was chaos. Calls poured in from furious clients demanding answers. The company's most prominent investors requested emergency meetings. Social media whispers about Grayson Technologies' failures grew louder by the hour. What had once been whispers about Alden Royce's dismissal turned into full-blown conversations about how the company had lost its way. Late that evening, with most of the office dark, Vincent sat alone in his spacious, modern office. He loosened his tie and leaned back in his chair, staring numbly at the blinking cursor on the computer screen before him. Everything had spiraled out of control. His phone buzzed with a new message. It was from an unknown number, but the words chilled him to the core. Loyalty isn't just a word, Vincent. It's the glue that holds an empire together. You forgot that. Vincent's heart raced. The message unnerved Vincent. He stared at the screen, the words glowing ominously in the darkness of his office. He didn't recognize the number, but something about the phrasing and the choice of words felt too calculated to be random. It was Alden. It had to be. Vincent's mind raced as memories of Alden surfaced, his calm demeanor, quiet intelligence, and, most of all, deep understanding of the company. Alden wasn't just an employee. He had been the proper foundation of Grayson Technologies, solving problems before they became visible to others. And Vincent had torn that foundation out with his own hands. The following day, Vincent's phone buzzed again at dawn. This time, it was Victoria. Her voice was tense on the other end. Sir, it's bad. Worse than we thought, she said, her words tumbling out in a hurry. The investors are pulling out. They've lost confidence in us. We'll lose millions if we don't fix this fast. Vincent pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling sharply. Tell IT they need to recover those servers today. I don't care how you do it. Offer overtime or call an outside help if needed. They tried, Victoria said, her voice tight. They've been trying for 2 days. The system is more complicated than anyone realized. It's like It's like Alden left it running with skeleton keys only he had. No one can figure out what he did. Vincent sat back in his chair, his hands trembling slightly. He knew what to do, though the thought made his stomach churn. He wasn't the kind of man who apologized quickly, but he'd run out of options. Pride wouldn't save his company. By mid-morning, Vincent stood outside a modest suburban home. The birds chirping made the world feel annoyingly peaceful, too peaceful for someone whose entire empire was crumbling. He took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. A few moments later, the door opened and Alden Royce stood. He looked older, maybe even tired, but not beaten. His salt and pepper hair seemed to glimmer in the sunlight. For a moment, neither man spoke. Alden raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. Well, Alden finally said, crossing his arms. If it isn't the visionary CEO Vincent Grayson. And to what do I owe the honor of this visit? Vincent cleared his throat, struggling to find the right words. Alden, I made a mistake. Alden stared at him, unmoving. That much is obvious. What do you want, Vincent? I need your help, Vincent admitted, his voice low. The company is in trouble. It's falling apart without you. The servers, your systems, they're breaking down, and no one can fix them. Clients are walking away. Investors are pulling out. Everything's unraveling. Alden finished for him, his tone pointed yet calm. Let me guess, you didn't realize how much you needed me until everything went wrong. Funny how that works. Vincent winced. He had anticipated anger, but Alden's calm dissection cut even deeper. You were right, Vincent said after a long pause. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. I underestimated your value. I could build something new or better by leaving the past behind. But I see now. I was wrong. Alden leaned against the doorframe, studying Vincent closely. Why should I help you? Vincent hesitated, caught off guard. What do you mean? You built this company. You have a legacy here. Don't you care that it's falling apart? Alden's lips curled into a humorless smile. I cared once. I gave my life to that company, Vincent, but loyalty goes both ways. You didn't just fire me, you erased me. You made me feel like everything I built didn't matter. So again, I'll ask, why should I help you? Vincent felt his throat tighten. This was going to be more complex than pleading for help. Taking a deep breath, he did something he never thought he would do. He told the truth. Because I was wrong, Vincent said, his voice cracking slightly. Because I let my ego blind me. I thought I had all the answers, but I didn't. I can't fix this without you, Alden. I need you. For a moment, Alden said nothing. The air between them was heavy, and Vincent felt the weight of his own words settling in. Finally, Alden spoke, his tone softer, but still firm. Alden sighed and uncrossed his arms. It's one thing to admit a mistake, Vincent. It's another to fix it. Words alone won't do that. Vincent looked at him, desperation etched into his features. Tell me what I need to do. I'll make this right, I swear. Alden regarded him carefully, his piercing eyes searching for something, maybe sincerity, maybe desperation. Making it right isn't just about me, Vincent, he finally said. It's about everyone you've pushed aside in your climb to the top. The employees, the partners, the trust you've broken. Fixing a system is one thing, but rebuilding what you've broken, that's a much bigger task. Vincent nodded, his shoulders slumped. Then help me fix it. Help me rebuild everything. Please. Alden was silent for what felt like an eternity. He glanced back into his home as though weighing the life he had built since leaving the company against the chaos Vincent now carried with him. His expression softened ever so slightly as he spoke again. I'll come back, but on my terms. Vincent straightened, a flicker of hope returning to his eyes. Name them. First, I'm not coming back under you, Alden said, his voice steady. I'll take a consulting role, answerable only to the board. I'll work on fixing the system, but I won't be part of your power games anymore. Done, Vincent said quickly. Second, Alden continued, tone firm, you're going to change how you lead. You're going to stop throwing away people like tools. You build a company on loyalty, on trust, on relationships. If you don't learn that, everything I fix will eventually break again because the real problem isn't the systems, you." Vincent hesitated. Those words stung more than he cared to admit, but Alden was right. And Vincent knew it. He nodded, swallowing the last of his pride. "Agreed." "Good," Alden said, stepping back inside his house. "I'll be in the office tomorrow morning, but don't think for a second that this is about saving your job. This is about saving the people you're dragging down with you." And with that, Alden closed the door, leaving Vincent alone on the doorstep. For a moment, Vincent just stood there, feeling the weight of everything he had done. He hadn't fixed the damage yet, not even close, but for the first time, he felt like there might be a path forward. The next few weeks were brutal. Under Alden's guidance, the company's systems were repaired piece by piece. He worked tirelessly, reinstating processes and bringing in key players who had left after his firing. But more importantly, Alden began to mend the morale within the company, showing employees that their contributions mattered. As Vincent watched Alden work, he studied the older man with a new respect. Alden's leadership could have been more subtle and loud, but it was effective. And it wasn't just about results, it was about people. For Vincent, the transformation didn't come quickly. His decisions faced unrelenting criticism from employees, clients, and even the board. There were moments he wanted to push back, to defend himself, but he knew that wouldn't help. Instead, he listened. One afternoon, a young employee, a junior tech named Iris, whom Vincent had barely noticed before, approached him hesitantly. "Mr. Grayson," she said, her voice cautious but daring. "I just wanted to say that. Things feel different now." "Better." Alden's work is inspiring, but it's also because it feels like you're actually hearing us too. Vincent felt a lump in his throat as he managed a small smile. "Thank you," he said. "It's a work in progress." Iris smiled back. "Progress is good." Then she left, leaving Vincent alone with his thoughts. By the end of the month, Grayson Technologies was stabilizing. Investors returned cautiously, clients reinstated contracts, and the systems ran better. Vincent stood in the glass boardroom, looking at the bustling office floor. The company once again felt alive. A tap on the glass behind him made him turn. It was Alden. "Not bad," Alden said, stepping into the room with a faint smile. "That's high praise coming from you," Vincent said, trying to match his tone. Alden chuckled. "Let's not get carried away. You've taken the first steps. But this isn't a race, Vincent. It's a marathon. Leadership isn't about chasing the next big thing. It's about building a foundation that stands the test of time. Remember that." Vincent nodded, the words hitting him with the weight of truth. "I understand that now," he said, his voice quieter, steadier. "I spent so much time chasing results that I forgot about the people who make those results possible. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm willing to do the work." No shortcuts this time. Alden regarded him silently for a moment before giving a slight nod of approval. "Good. That's a start." As Alden turned to leave the room, Vincent spoke again. "Alden," he said, and the man paused, looking back over his shoulder. "Thank you for giving this company another chance, for giving me another chance." Alden's expression softened just slightly, the faintest hint of a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "Just don't waste it, Vincent. For everyone's sake." With that, he left, walking back onto the office floor where employees greeted him with nods of appreciation, their respect for him evident. Vincent stood alone in the boardroom for a long minute, reflecting on the path that had brought him to this place. Turning back to look out over the office again, Vincent saw something he hadn't noticed before: collaboration. Employees worked together, not just out of obligation, but with a renewed sense of purpose. The cracks in the company's foundation hadn't disappeared overnight, but they were being repaired, one brick at a time. And this time, Vincent was determined to do the work needed to keep it that way. As he walked back to his own desk, a small, quiet determination burned within him. He'd made too many mistakes, but those mistakes didn't have to define him. Leadership was about something other than being perfect. It was about learning, taking responsibility, and growing stronger with every step. For the first time in years, Vincent felt a sense of clarity. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but he no longer feared it. He welcomed the challenge, because this time, he wasn't in it alone. If you found this story inspiring, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.